Hey, how's it going today? Today we're going to put in some vents. We've got a fuel cell vent and a differential vent we got to put in. So I've got some hose, a couple little vent filters, and I think you can see it back here, this little blue cap. That's the rollover valve vent for the fuel cell. I got to run a hose off of that, up high, over here, and down below the fuel cell. So let's get started. Take this little plastic cap off. So this is a pretty big fitting, so I had to make an adapter. Go from the big fitting, big hose, down to another adapter to a little bit smaller hose, 3/8 hose. Screw this on here. I'm tightening this up, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't spin the bulkhead fitting. Okay, there we go. Take some of this 3/8 hose. This hose is pretty cold and stiff. So I'm going to take a little lube here, spray lube, I'll spray it on my finger. Lube up this fitting a little bit. Jam it in there. And the hose, clamp it on there. Now we'll wire tie up the hose. Okay, now we're going to put our little filter on. Okay, we'll put our little filter on the end of the hose. Tighten up the hose clamp. Okay, now we're going to wire tie this down to the chassis, and so that the filter is hanging down below the fuel cell a little bit. And the theory here is that this rollover check valve in here, if your car ever rolls over, the check valve will close and keep fuel from sloshing out. So if you ever knock this hose off or something, it won't spill gas all over if you're upside down. However, it is possible, because of the weight of that little ball in the check valve, holding it down in the open position when it's in the proper position, the tank's in the proper position, that is, with a full tank of fuel, you could get some fuel surge. And that fuel surge could come up the hose and out. So you want to keep that from happening, obviously. So you come up here and over here, and then you have this hang down below the car. The reason that you have this hang down below the fuel cell, rather, not the car, have this hang down below the fuel cell is that, again, if you ever flip the car over and say there's some debris or something in the check valve and it doesn't close, well, if you're upside down, fuel's going to come flowing out of here. And if you have a vent that just comes up here and stops, you're going to be pouring fuel out all over the track or wherever upside down, maybe cause a fire. But if you run this hose all the way down below the fuel cell just a tiny bit, when the car's upside down and the check valve doesn't work, the fuel will just pool in the bottom of this loop because it's upside down, and this is higher than the tank if the car's upside down, so it won't bleed all over the track. I think you kind of get the point there. So now I'm going to wire tie this hose in along here. Okay, here's some closer pictures. That's that hose on the right there in the middle. Comes up, tied along the rear bar here, down this bar, and then goes down there. And you can kind of see, here's the bottom of the fuel cell. And this is the filter at the end of our hose, which hangs down a couple inches below the fuel cell, wire tied to the chassis there. So that's the vent line. Now, one of the reasons for having a filter on the end, you may be thinking, why don't I just hang the hose down there? Well, not only does this vent fumes, but it also, as you use fuel, it sucks air back in so you don't collapse the fuel cell. So you don't want to suck in dirt and rocks and dust and stuff if you don't have a little filter on there. Okay, that's it for that. Let's move on to the next vent. Alright, we're on the driver's side rear of the car here. And we're going to work on the differential vent. And you can see it right there is the differential vent fitting. And we've got to come up over a couple bars and attach it to here. So let's get started on that. Spraying a little lube in the end of this hose. Push it on the fitting. Clamp the hose on with the hose clamp. Get it on there nice and snug. Now this hose, unlike the vent line for the fuel cell, needs to come straight up top because you just want it to vent heat out from the pressure build from heat in the differential and just vent out up high. If you have it go down low, you could get some siphoning effects, some splash of gear oil and so on, and slosh it on the track, and you don't want to do that because everybody will be slipping and sliding. So I'm just trying to position this hose to where it's got some movement, because the rear axle of course goes up and down, and this hose is going to go up and down back in this spot here as well. Now the rear axle is all the way down position right now, so I can actually position it to where it's just resting on this bar, because it's never going to go down farther than that. It may go up higher but not down, but I'll still leave a little extra slop in it, and then we'll cut her off about right here. Now a lot of times you'll see guys, instead of just putting a little filter on here, they actually put a little bottle that has a filter on it, and they can pop the filter off, and then they can fill that bottle, and then the fluid will go down the hose and into the rear axle to fill the axle. It's kind of slow, but it's easier, especially when people have quick changes and stuff. It's hard to get to the fill ports sometimes. So it's a little easier for them just to fill up that bottle and let it slowly drain down until the height gets right. I've got pretty good access to the fill ports on this 8-inch rear diff, so I can fill it from the side pretty easily. I don't really need to have a bottle. Although I could, if I wanted, pop this filter off and use a squeeze bottle with the little nozzle on the end, shove it in the hose and squeeze it to fill the rear end if I wanted. Okay, we'll tighten up the hose clamp here and position the hose clamp so it doesn't rub any holes in this other line. On there. And then we'll get some hose clamp or some wire ties positioned on here to hold it in place. I don't know if you can see it, but this little filter twister around here has a little tab on it, and I'm going to use that to strap it down as well. Okay, there it is. I should be able to access this through my trunk opening port if I ever need to get to that. In If I have to, I can clip the wire ties and pull the hose over here if I want to use it for filling the rear end. Alrighty, that'll do it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.